Luka and Jokic playing together. There was a trade in the works that almost caused it to happen. One of the greatest what ifs in NBA history. We're going to dive into what almost went down that would have put Luka on the same team with Nikola Jokic. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe to our fast-growing NBA channel, joined by Donnie Freeman. Donnie, this would have been like an international Shaq and Kobe, I think, if you had put Luka and Jokic together. Would have been absolutely unreal.
Yeah, that's just crazy to think about. And I feel like maybe you guys agree, post down below if you do or don't. I feel like maybe at some point we may get to see this. Hopefully not when they're too old, but this just sounds like it's a match made in heaven, so I want to see it.
Well, as fans of another team in the Western Conference, I hope it is when they're too old, because that's going to be so difficult to beat if they do find a way together. Here's what went down. Mike Singer on the Hoop Collective podcast said the Nuggets knew that Vlade was not particularly high on Luka. We're talking about the 2018 draft, and the Kings had the number 2 pick. They had designs on pairing Jokic with Luka. Jokic had just really started coming into his own, where people went, "Oh, this guy's really good." That's the point we were at on the Jokic timeline. On draft night, they tried. There was a call placed. There was a proposal, and the Nuggets attempted to get the number 2 pick for Gary Harris and 2 first-round picks. And he said, you can roll your eyes at that price tag, but look at it in retrospect. Yeah, I mean, right now you would say, well, of course you would give that. Obviously you would give way more than that. But at the time, we didn't know how everybody was going to turn out here. The Kings ended up taking Marvin Bagley with the number 2 pick. Whoops. Oh. I'm not saying this trade was imminent. All I'm saying is this trade was discussed and considered because the Nuggets knew Vlade was not particularly high on Luka, and they tried to exploit it. The wrinkle in this is, had the Nuggets been willing to part with Jamal Murray, we have a hell of a what if in the annals of NBA history, but that did not happen. Okay, so the Nuggets call the Mavs, the Nuggets call the Kings, and they want to give up 2 future picks. Now, the Nuggets took Michael Porter Jr. 14th that year. It didn't specify whether that pick was part of the trade or not. I would imagine it would have been. But so if you're the Kings, for the number 2 pick, let's say it's the 14th pick, a future pick, and Gary Harris, who at the time was more of an up-and-coming young player. Today he's more of just a role player. But you get those 3 things for the number 2 pick to draft a player that you didn't really want to take anyway because you wanted to get Marvin Bagley. That's not such a terrible deal. I don't know. Does it look worse for the Kings had they done that trade, or doing what they did and drafting Marvin Bagley and not picking Luka?
In hindsight, I mean, Bagley he became nothing for them. So
right.
Basically anything else they could have done would have been better. It's just the biggest thing for me is, and I don't know all of the situation as to why that was the case, but the biggest thing from that entire article for me was that, they kept saying that, the Kings weren't high on Luka. And I'm thinking what are you talking about? I don't see why you wouldn't be high on Luka for the number 2 pick right there. But yeah, I don't really know that anything they could have done in particular, differently, because Bagley turned into nothing for them. So yeah, everything else possible would have been better in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been Gary Harris. Let's say it's still Michael Porter Jr. plus whatever that future pick would have yielded. Those things would have been better than Marvin Bagley. So they'd still be getting clowned though for not taking Luka with that pick, for trading that pick that became. They would still, and they would not know that they could have been living in the world that we're living in right now, where they selected Marvin Bagley over. Let's face it, anybody who took, even DeAndre Ayton over Luka looks silly now. But which that was the number 1 pick. But imagine had this gone through, or had the Nuggets, if they had a sense of what Luka was going to be, and they had just said Jamal Murray, go ahead, you would gladly, if you told the Nuggets right now you could have Luka for Jamal Murray and 2 first-round picks, they're doing that in a heartbeat, right? They're not even thinking about that. That's done.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that Jamal Murray was a sticking point for that. So yeah, that's kind of a crazy one. I absolutely do that in that situation if I'm the Nuggets. If obviously, hindsight being 2020 and all, if they had any idea of what Luka was going to become, then to me that just makes the most sense. You give up anything except for Jokic at that point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a sense of what Luka is going to be, yeah, you're moving heaven and earth to do everything you can, even if you have to overpay, because it's not going to be an overpay when the dust settles. But that duo, the fact that they recognized that and tried to go and get him, that says something right there. Obviously, they should have tried to give more. It really given the Kings an offer that they simply could not refuse. Didn't work out that way. Maybe fortunate for the Western Conference that it didn't work out that way. But that is a crazy what if. And there is a comment here that Mike Singer included, that from a King source or from a Nugget source, there was about 30 seconds when they thought they had it done. When they thought that it was close enough to where they thought for a moment that it was getting done and they were going to have Luka with Jokic. And my God, that would have changed so much in the NBA.
Yeah, that would have just been crazy. On a side note, I spent a little bit of time pulling up, because I couldn't remember, because it's been a while, what the main knocks were for Luka as to why he just didn't flat out go number one. Because, looking at it, he's somebody that I think you could have projected that he would be a star based on what he was doing already. But that being said, they did take Ayton, Bagley ahead of him. Mm-hmm. And one of the main things that I'm seeing here is that, there was just a particular bias towards big men in people. I don't know if there was a period in between where it kind of shifted away, and now it's starting to seem like it's shifting back. But there was a bias towards big men, and big men potentially having the opportunity to be more skilled or have higher ceilings going forward, and just a number of different reasons like that. And also positional versatility for Luka, athletic concerns. There was just that type of stuff, which is all to me sounds like a bunch of noise. Like, I get it in a draft where you don't know what somebody will literally be, but I felt like Luka was a pretty surefire thing. But I mean, I can understand why when you're looking at just these guys on a board, and not to disparage what the other two guys ahead of him did, but those guys were also pretty successful, right? In what they were able to do. What happened, by the way, on a side note for that, what happened with Young? Was Young selected 6 and they traded? Is that what happened?
Trae went, what did he go? He went 5, I believe.
5.
The Hawks had 3, and the Hawks had 3. Yeah, and they moved back, and they got Trae Young. The Mavs had 5. Yeah, here it is. And essentially, what wound up happening is the Hawks got Trae Young,
mm-hmm.
And so for Luka, the Mavs jumped from 5 to 3, and the Hawks went back to 5, and then got a future first as well.
That was crazy.
And that future first, you know who that became?
Wait, which? Sorry, I was mesmerized by Luka's board.
So Luka, in exchange for Luka, the Hawks got Trae Young and a future pick. Do you know who the future pick became?
No, who is it? Is it Lively?
No.
Who is it?
It was a future Hawks pick named Cam Reddish.
Oh. Oh, that's not where I was not expecting.
You were not expecting that one.
No.
That future pick that the Mavs sent to the Hawks in exchange for moving up from 5 to 3 to get Luka became Cam Reddish, who obviously did not
another
last in Atlanta.
Right?
That was another. I believe he was 10th overall.
Yeah, that was a good pick.
Yep.
Yeah. Whoops. So I remember also with that too, with Luka, and this is obviously off topic, so we're gonna wrap after this. I remember with Luka and Trae, there was concerns about the market and stuff, like Atlanta market for Luka and things.
Sure.
Like, it's silly stuff, man. But like I said, coming out of college, these guys were all really good in college, so I can understand why if you're looking at it and you say, we want to take certain players in certain positions, but this draft is kind of crazy. This draft just like it needs a massive redrafting. I mean, Shea is at 11. You've got Michael Porter down there. You've got just Mo Bamba at 6. It's just kind of all over the place.
We could do that at some point. You could redraft. Maybe we should do that this week. We should redraft the 2018 NBA draft because it is a crazy draft and there's some incredible talent and a lot of it, like a lot of drafts. The draft isn't in exact science, but you've got players totally in the wrong spots. So maybe we should do that. We should redraft the 2018 NBA draft. Let us know in the comment section if you want to see us do that later on this week. Don't forget, again, to subscribe to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.